Who's the worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin?
Clive Davis.
So we are gathered here today to say our final goodbyes to a music mogul, Clive Davis. Clive Davis was basically a loan shark bookie who loaned musicians money. He covered it up by owning record labels such as Arista Records, LaFace Records, Bad Boy Records, J Records, Columbia Records, RCA, and Sony. Basically, those were all cover ups for him being a loan shark and bookie. He would loan you money to buy fancy clothes, fancy jewelry, go on tour. And then if you didn't pay him back his money, he would basically you or your family and friends. Basically, that sums up Clive Davis' career in the music industry. Now, I'm going to let others from TikTok step to the front and say their final goodbyes. Please keep your remarks at 1 minute.
Who's the worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin?
Clive Davis. What? Devil incarnate. Clive Davis. He Janis Joplin. He blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin. He killed Whitney Houston.
This is not a drill. Clive Davis is dead. Right now, everybody line up, oldest to youngest. What happened? Get the biopics out now. He cannot hurt you anymore. He has no power over you. Get the biopics out right now. I want to know what really happened to everybody. Oldest to youngest, because we ain't got that much time, okay? I want to know what happened.
Of that $850 million was made off the backs of artists who did not make it to live past 50. One of the greatest soul singers to ever have lived, signs to a major record label through a subsidiary imprint, and then dies in a plane crash at the age of 26, 3 days after he recorded Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, a record that was not even finished by him because he did not live to finish it. The record company went ahead and filled the song with whistling as a placeholder and then released it anyway. This became the first post-death #1 single in music history. And when his label, after his death, went to claim his catalog, they found that a major record label that shall remain nameless had already claimed it. The plane went down, the catalog went up, and the company kept making money. 2001, a young artist whose uncle owned her masters dies in a plane crash. A witness states that she was allegedly given a sedative before she was loaded onto that plane unconscious. That plane was found to have been over its weight limit and piloted by someone with a fraudulent license. Her music's been locked in a vault for over 20 years, and her estate sees almost none of her revenue. The plane went down, the catalog went up, and the checks kept coming. 2026, an artist publicly announces his leaving his record label, saying on camera that he had made them tens of millions of dollars that the record company owes him. He gets his independent album going, starts off on his first world tour, and dies in a helicopter crash. Age of 32. Aircraft went down, catalog went up, the checks keep coming. Now let's talk about the ones that weren't aircraft, okay? 1996, an artist who was actively trying to unify the world through rap and who had cut the labels out of the beef between rap artists that they were profiting from is shot in a major American city in a car that he was not driving. 6 months later, the artist who this artist was beefing with is signed to the label the other artist was beefing with, that is actually co-founded by the same executive that died yesterday, is also shot in a major American city. Almost 30 years later, and both of their catalogs have generated over hundreds of millions of dollars since their deaths. 2019, an artist who owned everything, his store, his block, his label, was days away from meeting with LAPD about community investment, then shot outside his own business. A man was convicted, but the community never accepted the lone gunman story. He was 33. That the executive that died yesterday did not just own one record label. He was part of a an empire, if you will. He co-founded the label that most of these artists who have died in unsolved murders belong to. He co-founded the label that signed a group of 3 women who filed for bankruptcy despite making the record label $23 million. One of those women who died in a car accident in a car that she was not driving at the age of 30. Same man who discovered a young woman at 19 with a voice that could shake a house down, shaped her, molded her career, owned her voice and her body, and owned her entire catalog, decided to continue on with a party after they found her dead in a bathtub the night before. He was quoted saying she would have wanted the music to play on. She was 48. He lived to be 80, and during those years collected off of every single one of her hit songs, including after her death. Now here's what nobody wants you to understand, right? This is not illegal, because the major labels have something that's called the Death and Disability Clause, which states that upon the death of the artist, the label retains full ownership of the catalog and can continue to profit from said catalog indefinitely. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a clause. It's in stone, it's litigated. Look it up. This was designed to ensure that if the artist happens to die in a mysterious plane crash, helicopter crash, drug overdose, whatever the case may be, the machine keeps running. They keep making money after they're gone because the artist is replaceable, but the catalog is forever. Now, there are many other people that I could have brought up, I could have named, but I'm not going to name anybody else. All I simply did was read to you public information that is well documented about that music industry executive who died with a worth of $850 million that the industry wants you to believe was a legend worthy of being honored. And I just want to be sure y'all understand exactly who it is this legend was.
The other part of that is we never talk about what Clive Davis did to Milli Vanilli, because those were young black men, but they looked a certain way and they were too pretty. But we have these big old fat black guys that can really sing. So we're going to have them sing, but we're going to put Milli Vanilli up. And then when it got discovered that the scam was happening, Clive Davis didn't lose a Grammy. Milli Vanilli did. Clive Davis wasn't shunned. Milli Vanilli was. Clive Davis went on and made Bad Boy, made J Records, gave Usher a record deal, built LaFace Records, did everything he wanted to do without any consequence or recompense to what he did to those young boys who were out front through no fault of their own, who were forced into that situation, and the fat black kids who were in the back singing.
One of the most evil men in the music industry, considered the Jeffrey of the music industry, Clive Davis, who was also Diddy's mentor, has passed away at 94. He dominated the music industry. For instance, he found Whitney Houston, which is real interesting considered what happened with her unaliving, allegedly. Go look up her last interview with him, it's telling. But the big one, he found Sean Combs, dear old Diddy, and he mentored him, and he taught him everything about the music business and how to control everything, allegedly. And that's not all. He was the CEO and founder of Bad Boy Records, and guess who else founded it with him? Good old Clive. Clive gave him all the tools, and allegedly, Diddy, part of why he did what he did was to get intel, all these parties and things, so he could have tapes over everybody. And guess who his boss was, allegedly, that he gave all this information to, which allegedly kept these two creeps in power for way too long at the top of the field and held secrets on everybody, all while they're doing stuff in the background.
TLC had generated on Crazy Sexy Cool $75 million, and they gave us $50,000 a piece. So I was like, what the hell? So, of course, Lisa was the ringleader.
Like, we need to go get our money. I need to know where my MF and money's at.
So, you know, she was locked up in the diversion center for burning down the house. And she was just like,
Okay, we gonna get LaFace and them girls I was locked up with. We gonna drive up there. We gonna take the guns.
and then we had this limo driver.
Wait, she just got out of jail.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And we had the limo driver. And he was the getaway car. So we went up there and held everybody hostage, and Puffy was the one that snitched us out. Yo, B, yo, your girl's up here mad bugging, yo.
Do you ever have nightmares about TLC holding you hostage that time?
Records interrupted a meeting with Diddy and wouldn't leave till Clive ponied up more cash for their hit album.
Shade Room, shut the fuck up. Ain't nobody praying for motherfucking Clive Davis, bitch. We still wait for Whitney Houston to come back. Bitch, fuck you.
Clive Davis is dead, and I feel like the best way to honor him is to pretend his death never happened, in the same way that he held his Grammys party right as Whitney Houston died 2 hours before and 4 floors up. Anyway, a few videos ago I said the music industry is not like the mob, it is the mob. Let's flash back to 1973 with a reminder of who Clive Davis really is. The top is a headline from Ben Fongtor's 1973 Rolling Stone report. Behind me is this New York Times piece I found online. In summary, as president of CBS Records, Clive was caught by the feds using fake invoices to pay off Mafia, to launder money through the Mafia. Actually, Clive's underling was caught doing it, and Clive only got fired for lack of oversight. Wink, wink, wink. We're talking about fake airfare invoices, fake limousine invoices, fake production invoices. $9,000 for Clive's own son's bat mitzvah. Disguised as real payments, but really just payments to the mob. Clive got fired, had to start his own record label, aka Arista, from the ground up, I'm sure. 10 years later brings you Whitney Houston in the same spirit of the Mafia. I talked about Clarence Avant maybe a few years ago, who is like widely known as like the godfather of the music industry. Who's his mentor? Joe Glazer from the Chicago Mob, the man who brought us all Billie Holiday. Lena Horne was 22 years old when she was signing a groundbreaking deal to MGM. Who was the head of MGM? Louis B. Mayer, a absolutely terrible man who literally was in the mob, funding his studio via the Purple Gang out of Detroit, working closely with them, using them for extortion for his dirty work. Orson Welles says that he wouldn't have put it past Mayer to have people killed because Mayer liked to think of himself as a founding father, as a capo of the Mafia. I mentioned Billie Holiday and I mentioned Lena Horne because I'm going to mention Whitney Houston and the formula of women like them being picked up as sort of prize pony by these Mafia figures. There's a culture of fear, extortion, threats, and murder that we can thank the Mafia for being the foundation of the entertainment and the music industry. The generational figures, the sons and grandsons of these figures are still very much in power in the industry. The people they mentor are still very much in power, with the exception of one who is currently sitting in jail with his baby oil collection sitting in an FBI evidence locker. Clive brought us Whitney. Clive also brought us Diddy. He is a founding investor in Bad Boy Records. And I have a video on this from maybe 2 years ago that I will link in the comments on just the web of consolidation that Clive has built over urban media and the power figures across Def Jam and Bad Boy that he brought together.
How many artists did Clive Davis exploit? First, Kelly Clarkson. Clive Davis once told Kelly she was a terrible songwriter and should just shut up and sing. Years later, he publicly trashed My December, and Kelly fired back, accusing him of bullying artists and declaring she would never bow to him again. Second, Janis Joplin. Clive signed Janis in 1967 and later called her one of his best investments. He turned her into a rebellious icon and kept her constantly touring. Everyone knew she was battling alcohol and heroin. Clive never hit the brakes. In 1970, Janis died alone in a Hollywood motel from a heroin overdose. Third, Phyllis Hyman. After signing with Arista, she wanted to stay true to soul music, but Clive kept pushing her toward a more commercial sound. Phyllis later said Clive cared more about what she could sell than who she really was. As Whitney Houston and other stars rose, she was pushed aside and dropped in 1983. In 1995, just 7 days before her 46th birthday, she died after taking an overdose of sleeping pills. Fourth, Whitney Houston. From the beginning, Clive controlled almost every part of her career. On the 11th of February 2012, Whitney died at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. That same night, Clive went ahead with his annual Grammy party and insisted he had done nothing wrong.